welcome everybody to our another slideshow presentation for our brand new kindergarten children that are starting in 2021. This week, so it's the second week back of term 4 for 2020 children. We are uploading quite a few different bits of information that hopefully you'll find really valuable and beneficial. So tonight's presentation is for parents to come through along with me and find out some information that will help you start as best and as smoothly as you can for next year. But some other things that have been uploaded tonight on our school YouTube are also things that the kids can watch too, like our live tour going around the school, our reading with Mrs. Worth, and there's quite a few other things on there as well. So let's get started. I'm just going to take you through my presentation. And again, because this is not live, if you have any questions after this, please feel free to call or email the school and they'll pass those questions on to me. Okay, starting school. Starting school can be a busy time for all concerned, so hopefully here are some helpful tips that will help you and your family along the way. To provide all information about your child to the school, this is really important because there's children naturally that have their medical and their special needs as well that we need to know to support them when they start school next year. So in your blue folders that you will pick up this week, along with your red folders as well, but in those blue folders are a lot of notes that we need for you to sign to give permission for. Plus, you'll also get some information that if you have any medical needs, it will take you through that as well, plus healthcare plans that you can get from your GP. You know your child best, so again, just make sure that you share this with the school and especially next year with your child's teacher as well. There's a policy regarding medication naturally at our school. So if your child needs medication at school, just talk to the school and make them aware of the circumstances. This helps to ensure a safe and caring environment for all. So medications, if your child takes a regular medication, like I just said before, you'll get a healthcare plan which will be needed from your doctor. If your child just requires medicine for a small amount of time, if they've got a cold or something like that, there is a form at the office that must be signed by a parent as well. So the medicine has to be brought to school by the parent. It can't be in the child's bag and it has to be in the correct chemist box so that we can see what needs to be given as well. Just to make sure too, to do with your medicines as well, like if it is just a small cold, I know with my own children in the past that if they say they've got to have it 3 times a day, you can usually get around this by just giving them in the morning with breakfast, straight after school with afternoon tea, and then before they go to bed. But if for some reason it is a medication that has to be given in the middle of the day, then just follow that procedure. So some other special requirements might be if your child has anaphylaxis or asthma. So again, just make sure that you make the school aware of this. And we are definitely a nut-free school or a nut-aware school. So we encourage all children to make sure that they're bringing things to school that don't contain nuts. But again, if you've got any problems with how that will go along, then just ask your teacher. If a child is an asthmatic and needs their Ventolin and their spacer at school, because they do need to have a spacer for the office to help administer that, then just make sure that comes along with your healthcare plan from your GP. Okay, so this emergency contact numbers, this is quite important because without even realising sometimes numbers change all the time. So the school needs to, if the school needs to contact you urgently, we do need to have those numbers. So whether it's a home landline number or a mobile number or work number, and especially an alternative person as well, if we can't reach either mum or dad or a family member, just to make sure that that's all on your enrolment forms as well. Make sure that the adults who pick your child up on a regular basis are listed on their forms. And if they're having a play date, just let the teacher know through a note or maybe the day before, just saying who they're going to be picked up from the next day. If any changes to your family situations occur, and they impact on your child, then please just let us know, because, you know, we definitely are here to cater for not only their academic needs, but their emotional needs as well. So if we can help in any way, we're here to help you, definitely. Just inform your child's teacher and the principal about any changed circumstances so that your child can be supported. Examples of the special circumstances could be a birth or a separation or a death of a loved one. Spare clothing. This is quite important because, you know, your children may have been, you know, being toileted and haven't had accidents for a few years, but, you know, in a brand new setting, in a brand new situation, when they're very excited and playing with their friends, then sometimes they can forget to go, and they don't just have a bathroom that's right next to them, they have to walk across a playground. So if you can just please make sure that you've got spare underwear, socks, and either shorts or pants, depending on the season, labelled in their school bag each day. For some reason, the department doesn't lend out socks, so that was a weird one, but if you've got those spare things in your bag, that will be really helpful. A raincoat as well for every term. Just make it live in your bag, because, as you know, rainy weather is so unpredictable, and we need to sometimes walk to the library or to the art room somewhere in the school. So if they can have a raincoat that lives in their bag as well, that would be fantastic, with it labelled too, please. We discourage umbrellas just for safety reasons. And if you do end up having to borrow any spare clothing from school, if you could wash and return it as soon as possible. So establishing routines, preparing your child for a more structured day. So make a daily routine that includes mealtime, talking time, reading time. Remember, your child has had a busy day and will be tired. So ensure your child knows their home time arrangements, what gate or who is to pick them up, just so that they don't get distressed at all. And please let your child's teacher know if there is to be any change to these arrangements, like I said before. They are going to get tired all of a sudden. They may have been in preschool or daycare for a few days a week, and then all of a sudden it's going to be 5 days a week in a different setting. So, you know, routine's really important. Naturally, we can't have that every day. I know that, you know, older siblings might require drop-offs and pickups to sports and going out for dinner and all those sorts of things. But just in general, having that routine, especially at the beginning of kindergarten, will hopefully help your child to adjust to all the changes. So arriving at school starts promptly at 9:15 each morning. Make sure your child arrives at least 10 or 15 minutes before the bell. Now, again, it depends on the morning. If your child only gets here just a few minutes before the bell, that's fine. There's a teacher that will be on duty from 8:45. That's when the gates are opened. So no child is to be at school earlier than that for their own safety, unless as they get older, they're part of a school group, like if they're having sports training or early dance groups, that sort of thing. Late arrivals must be signed in at the office. So if you are late and after 9:15, you do have to take your child to the office and you do have to sign them in. For the first 2 weeks, the finishing time for kindergarten will be 2:45, and then after that it will be 3:15. It just gives us a chance to talk to parents, and it just makes the kids' day a little bit shorter, just for them to adjust to all the changes as well. If for any reason that you can't be here at 2:45 for those first 2 weeks, especially people that have already asked me about USH, if they're going to USH, then yes, those children will definitely stay with their kindergarten teachers for that half an hour. But if you've got any concerns when you come up for your Best Start appointment, which you will pick up this week as well from the office, your Best Start time and date, just let us know then, and the ladies in the office will pass on any issues or concerns that you have. Okay, after 9:15 each morning, the students are in their classrooms, the gates will be shut. So if for some reason you're coming into the school to help at the canteen or in the home reading programs, which you'll be informed about next year, the only entry into the school is through the office. Kindergarten children will be picked up from their classroom for the first 2 weeks, like I just said, at 2:45, and try and be on time. Again, as I just said before, if you're late, then just please call the school or let us know, and we can naturally stay with your children. We would never leave your children on their own. The same with once we go to 3:15 as well. If for some reason you're running late, if you could call the office, we'd appreciate it. Oh, and if you're taking your child home early, if they've got an appointment of some sort, again, if you can come through the office and sign them out, that's the best way that we follow those rules. So, road safety, I'm sure this has probably come up in your family already, and we naturally talk about this in our personal development lessons in our classrooms as well. But just reinforcing your child the rules around the road. You know, some families are going to be walking to school on a daily basis. So, talking to them about road safety, crossings, all of those sorts of things. Take care when dropping off and collecting your child from school. So, really encourage children to go across the crossing, or the lollipop man as well that we have out on Canberra Avenue too. We definitely don't want to encourage children to be running from one side of the road to the other. There's so many cars around our school, buses, etc. So we're just looking after your safety as well. Oh, the staff car park too. So that is also a very busy place of a morning. So that is only for staff. We also have taxis that come and go as well for our support unit children. So if you can please make sure that you park outside the school, that's appreciated. Okay, who's at our school? So getting to learn the names of the important people at school. Your child will not only have a kindergarten teacher next year, but they'll have a library teacher, an art teacher. So, you know, just make sure you're talking to your children every day. You'll soon get to know, it won't take you long, all the different people that they start to mention. Making sure that there's a positive relationship with your child and the teachers in the school is really, really beneficial. And if you're ever wondering about your child's progress and how they're going, we do have our end of term 1 interviews. And again, you'll find out more about that at our parent information night, which is usually held within the first few weeks next year. Okay, so attendance. Parents are legally responsible to ensure their child attends school regularly. Your child should attend school each day unless prevented by sickness naturally. So absences can be explained by just sending a note through to the teacher. Your child will have a take-home folder next year, and that will have all their home reading and homework things in it each day. It will have stencils that they sometimes bring home. That folder goes backwards and forwards. So a note that explains an absence in there is completely fine. You can also use the emailing system through School Bites as well. If your child's going to be away longer than 3 days, especially if you've got a special holiday or trip planned, then you just need to get the form from the office. It's a department form that the principal then signs allowing you permission for you to go away, which is usually not a problem. Okay, so lots of talk about school uniforms. There's some of my beautiful children from this year in their summer uniform, sports uniform and winter uniforms. So you will receive this information this week in your packs. So the P&C lovely ladies have organised days and times, which I gave out in the first information session at the end of last term. So you just need to get online and book your appointment time if you do want to try things on. If you're happy with what's in the package and they've got all different sizing and information in there, you may just be able to order everything online and you won't require to try anything on. So that's totally up to you. If you've got any questions about that, as I said, there's about 4 or 5 sheets that's going to come your way in your folder that explains all of this. They've gone to so much trouble this year because we understand it's quite hard not having our normal transition days and having parents on site. So if you've got any problems, then just use their website or email address or call the school. Lost property. So replacing lost clothing and belongings is expensive. So please make sure that you've got your names on absolutely everything, even shoes, because we do have a sandpit here. So if you can also put your name on their shoes, that would be fantastic. But lost property, unfortunately, does happen, even though we try and keep everything together in the classrooms. But there is a lost property box, which is up in our primary part of the playground, just near the primary toilets. Okay, so we encourage the kids not to bring any of their special things to school, especially jewellery, no expensive jewellery, no expensive toys or items like that, because we can't guarantee their return. And just to make sure that in the very first term, we'll explain to you that the kids are allowed to have news, and they're allowed to bring in something to show for news. It could be just a toy or a photo, something like that, which stays in the classroom. They're not allowed to take that outside in the playground. And after term 1, from term 2 onwards, we have more formalised news and speeches that revolve around our units that we're doing. So we try and encourage the children, unless it's for an informal part of news, not to bring any sort of expensive toys or things from home. Okay, so our school encourages students to bring a low waste lunch, which just means making sure that we're, using containers and trying not to have too much rubbish that can be naturally dropped and spread around the playground. I think everybody does this pretty well anyway already at preschool, just using different containers and that type of thing. We usually encourage the kids, if they do have things in a Snaplock bag or Glad wrap, that we ask them to put it back in their lunchbox and take it home. So we've talked about this in the first information evening last term, but they need to have a nice healthy lunch with some really great healthy choices, which is in the first information night, which is recorded and you can access anytime. Try not to give them too much. So, for lunch, sandwiches and a drink, maybe a second thing if you know that your child is a big eater. At fruit break or recess, we call it, they could bring in a piece of fruit, and that's where they can also bring in, some crackers or cheese or yogurt or something like that. We talked about in the first meeting last term that they also will have crunch and sip time, which is in the classroom while they're working. And we'd really love for that to come in a separate container because their lunch boxes will take far too much room up on their desk. That's just a quick fruit or veggie break while they're working, and they get to have a sip of water as well from their bag. The school newsletters, it's really important that you read and respond to any notes that are sent home with your child. So we have a newsletter called the Waratah Whisper, and you can access this on School Bytes. If there's any reason that you don't have the Wi-Fi on at home, then just ask the school for a paper copy each fortnight. That would be fine as well. And there's lots of dates and information that's always up on our website and our information board as well out the front. Okay, so for different events and excursions, permission notes and money can be placed in the class boxes. So just encourage your child, because you can bring them in their take-home folders. And if we naturally find them in their take-home folders, we get the children to take them up to the office. But if you actually start to show your children where the office is and where their class box is, once they're in their classes, there's usually a photo of the teacher, then any types of notes or money can just go into that little pigeonhole in the office area. If it's something for the canteen, again, there's like a little letterbox at the canteen that they can just pop that straight into the canteen before 9:15. And it's really important on all the notes that you're going to get next year that you notice when payments are due, because there's a lot of times that we have to pay outside people. So we really need families to help us stick to those guidelines of making sure that notes and payments are in by that due date, which is always at the bottom of the note. You can also pay online and just then the children can bring their permission notes straight to their teacher. POP you can use through the School Bytes to pay for everything, so that might be easier for some of you as well. And as I said before, lunch orders and any other special food days that we have, like at the moment we're having a sausage sizzle day that's coming up soon, then they can just be put in at the canteen. Okay, ways parents can help at home. Reading to your child and just communicating with them about their day and about the teachers that they've met as well. Sorry, I've just got a message coming over. Also visiting your child's classroom. Now we've actually really missed that this year due to the COVID restrictions, and we're really hoping that all those restrictions will be lifted by next year. But when that does happen, yes, we'll welcome you to come and visit our classroom, come in and have a look at any of the things that they've been doing in their artwork. If you'd like to volunteer to help with home reading or any other sorts of things, we'll let you know when that will all happen early next year. What to do now? So bring your child to their best start assessment. So you're about to pick that up in the office this week as well with your red and blue folder. Make sure that you've enrolled your child and filled out all the necessary paperwork, because I know that some people are still in the middle of doing that. I've already spoken about just getting to know the staff and asking questions and being positive, talking about school in a positive way to your child. I know sometimes we can get quite flustered if we've got older children or we've had a bad experience or a negative experience in the past, like from our own childhood. But just remembering your children, this is their very first year. We want to try and make it really positive, both at home and naturally from us teachers at school, just so that they can settle and they're really excited about coming to school every day. And as I said, there'll be information nights. You'll get notes in the very first weeks of term one, and hopefully you can make that information session. And if you can't make it, we naturally, any of the handouts that we have, we'll make sure they come home with your child the next day. Okay, so both the students and teachers will appreciate your involvement and assistance. Parents and caregivers set a good example. If you are positive, encouraging towards your school, your child will be too. So just what we said before. So the folders contain information that will be important for you to know. They contain specific information about our school, such as the handbook, canteen, starting school, equipment needed, health issues, all those sorts of things, uniform information. There'll also be some literacy and numeracy information to do with your best start. And just take the time to go through any of these folders. And if you don't ask questions this year and you look at things over the Christmas holidays, please don't hesitate to come and ask us early next year. We're only too happy to help. So when you pick up your form, as I said, the very first thing that's going to be on the top of your pack is your best start time and date. So if there's any problems with that date or time, just let the ladies in the office know and we'll try and change that for you. So this is a departmental best start test that all New South Wales schools do. It's to recognise that students enter kindergarten with a range of abilities in lots of different areas of learning, to find out what the students know to allow teachers to plan and implement teaching and learning that supports students and build on their knowledge and skills, to track and monitor the students' progress using the progressions of learning. And the progressions of learning are set out by the department. So they're what we use to establish goals with your children and then to move them up to the next level when they're ready. And to assist teachers to provide accurate information about the students to parents and carers. So this half-an-hour session that you're going to bring your children in, it's just a really lovely time that we get to know your children, ask them about their Christmas holidays. We'll do some literacy and numeracy activities. It's really, it's not overwhelming for the kids, and if they are not ready to do any of that, we definitely don't push them at all. They're just some fun little activities so we can actually see where your child's at. Now, a lot of the children, when you get your best start results back, will be a 0 in different areas because, you know, they might not be counting past 20 yet. They might not be writing their name yet, or they might not recognise any little sight words yet. And that is completely normal. So please do not worry. If there was any issues after your child's best start test, then we would raise that with you. But it's amazing, like I say to all of our parents in those first few weeks of school, when we give you, we normally put the best start data in, and then the information that goes back to parents is around about week 5 or week 6 of the first term. It's amazing how much the kids have even grown from day 1 to week 5, week 6. And all of those results that have come through that actually help us start planning from week 1, but all of those results that have come through sometimes can change that quickly. So as I said, if we've got any concerns, your class teacher will definitely start to talk to you about all of that. And as I said in the meeting at the end of last term as well, if your child wants to wear their school uniform on that day, they're very welcome to, but they don't have to. So that's sort of what the report will look like. You'll get some information there about where your child's at and some ideas at home as well that they can continue to do for literacy and numeracy as well. Okay, so some of the questions that will be asked, so you can see that they're not invasive at all. Can you point to some writing in this picture? Can you read this sentence? Can you point to a letter? Can you find letters that are the same? What sound does the letter make? Which words have the same first sound? Can you tell me what happened in the story I just read you? Who is your favourite character? Can you write your name? Can you write a sentence? Now, there's things naturally that some of our new children that are coming in will be able to do, and naturally some children won't. Please don't feel that you have to go now and do some practice over Christmas. That's not what it's about at all. It's about catering for your child exactly where they are at. My eldest child, who's 18 now, when she was in kindergarten, and Best Start wasn't around back then, she was hardly doing any of those things. She was too busy dressing up and playing with her dolls. And that's what we want for children as well, because that sort of play is really important. So please don't worry if your child's not doing any of these things. We just wanted to put it up so that you could see some of the questions that we'll be asking. Okay, some of the questions that will be asked for the numeracy. Start counting from 1 and I'll tell you when to stop. Show me 5 counters. Show me 5 counters and then get another 3 and tell me how many you have altogether. What number is this? What is the next number after 7? How many dots can you see on a dice? So there's just a few little things that we do with numeracy as well. So these are the sorts of ideas you can do at home. And as I said, ideas not because of a Best Start test, but ideas just in general to get your children used to coming to school and to support them in their first year of kindergarten. So reading books to your child with rhyming words in them, which I'm sure most of you already do anyway. Encouraging your child to use their fingers to follow a story as you read to them. Sometimes kids like to make up the story and still point to the words, which is totally fine. Making sure that you're looking at pictures as well and getting the idea and asking the kids questions from the pictures, because we really encourage children to be looking not only at the print when they first start learning to read, but the pictures as well. Using plastic or magnetic letters to match letters. Encourage your child to notice characters in the story. So just asking them questions about the characters. Who is their favourite? What is their favourite part of the story or their favourite character? Encourage name writing. That's a fun activity. So if they like painting or if they like using Play-Doh or any of those types of things, then but they're not ready for a pencil yet, then that might be a way that you can introduce writing their name, writing a word that your child can trace, and especially name writing or someone's name in the family or mum or dad or their favourite pet. Writing it first and getting them to trace over it is a great idea. Again, as I said in the last meeting last term, if your child's not ready for this, please don't worry about pushing it, because they're going to be doing lots of that types of things when they start school. And ideas at home from numeracy. Ask your child to make a simple pattern using 2 different coloured pegs, beads, stones, and describe the pattern. Count with your child. Ask your child to point to numbers in storybooks and tell them the name of the number. You can play card games where your child has to say the number. Count the number of eggs in a carton, maybe after some has been removed. Play a game of Skittles, or encouraging your child to tell how many bottles were knocked down and how many are still standing after each bowl. So, and even just simple board games where they're rolling dice, all these sorts of things will be definitely part of the numeracy curriculum that will be introduced to them next year. So this is our last page, our final reminders. So please remember to look at our other videos on our school YouTube, as they all have valuable information for you and your child to help make your transition to school next year a smooth one. You can also access kindergarten information that the P&C representatives have organised through the 2021 Kindy Facebook page. If you have any more questions, like I said before, please feel free to ring or email our school, and I'll try and answer any questions that you have. Please return all signed information notes from the blue folder to our school office as soon as you can. And we look forward to meeting you all soon. So I'm sorry it's all had to be virtually so far. I just realised I didn't even say that this was Mrs. Rodashall, Sharon Rodashall, at the beginning of this. I forgot you couldn't see my face. But I did get to see lots of you last term at the information night that we had in the last week, which we did live through Zoom. So all of those things, as I said, this week you're going to be having quite a few different videos uploaded, and then we've got some extra ones in week 4 to do with our P&C, our art room, all of those types of things. Now, when you come in for you would have received an email that has all the information and dates which are really important for your child's transition. And that will start in week 3 and then another one in week 4. And depending on your surname will depend on what time you're coming into the school. I really want to stress to you that we will have lots of teachers on board that morning for 45 minutes. But if your child is really, really anxious and finds it really hard to separate from you and there's a lot of tears, we definitely don't want to push that. It's a really different situation this year that they're not going to be walked into the school with you personally and bringing them down to the library. We have put a social story up for you this week so you can actually see what, and your child can watch it as well to see how it will work, how a child will come in and say goodbye to either mum or dad or a grandparent and then be passed over to a teacher. So make sure that you watch this social story as well, which is uploaded this week too. But as I said, if it just doesn't work, we're definitely not going to force that. That's the last thing that we want for you and for your child. So most of the things that you're going to need to do, and especially for your children, seeing the school and coming up to listen to a story and do some craft, we've got a story that's uploaded anyway, so they can go home and they can watch that. There's some dancing that my class have done, so they can join in and do some dancing at home, watching it on your computer in their sort of more safe environment. So even though if it is quite tricky for your child for the 2 sessions and they can't separate, as I said, we don't want to push that. That's the last thing that we want to do. The week 4 session that you will have, so the first one will be a story and some craft. The second one will be some sport activities, and we're hoping to do that right in front of the gate in the top part of the playground. So any children that are a bit distressed can see what the other kids are doing, and then when they're ready, they can hopefully come on in. So I'm hoping that I haven't forgotten to tell you anything. As I said, there's going to be lots of things uploaded this week. This was a really good presentation to not overload you because it's been recorded. You can just go back and look at anything at any time. And thank you so much for your patience this year. It has been a very different year, but I think if we all work together, then we can make this the best start possible for your children, and that's the most important thing. So take care for now. We'll see you when they come in week 3 for their transition session, and look forward to meeting you all. Bye-bye.